There's also a degree to which I think more creatives need to do better at setting the value and establishing the value in what they do. I can't tell you how many people I see out there that are like, oh, well, I'm doing this quick campaign and, and I might break even or have to pay out a little bit. And it's like, I can get that for maybe your first campaign where you're trying to establish a name, keep the price low. But at a certain point, like if you don't value your stuff enough to put a price on it that's worth having, no one else is. Like, value is entirely how you present and how you go out and now if you can't convince someone it's valuable, that's whatever, but that's you need to be presenting that there's value there. And I think a lot of that stems from the guys in the space don't think that their stuff is valuable. They're just they desire so much for other people to look at it and give them respect. They're not respecting themselves, I guess.
Oh, for sure. And that's kind of why I really started going in with the paid subscription on Substack and really going in with doing all these different avenues of monetization, because the core reason why every central issue is free is pure altruism. It's just because I grew up being exposed, child of the internet age. Here, it's not even a sob story. It's just kind of an interesting anecdote. But I always wound up growing up with so many different storytellers in different avenues, whether it was being done through videos or whether it was fiction or whether it was web comics. And it was always stuff being literally shown for free. And on one hand, it's like, oh gosh, wouldn't it be nice if we just all have access to everything everywhere all at once, to quote a movie title. But at the same time, you cannot sustain a project by just handing it all away unless you have a pretty lucrative main job. And the difference with me is that I wanted to make my work in the creative space my main job. I wanted to make my film work, my music, this multimedia package my main job, which is why I really did go in and say, these are the stories that are going to be behind the paywall. Alan Firedale is a heavily taxing series to make. And it's why I've even hired on my announcer, Brendan, who actually does the audio editing. He edits all the dialogue, all the narration for me now, because it got to such a point that I'm just like, I don't know if I can keep up at this pace, even on the quarterly schedule, because it becomes such an intensive experience, layering the audio, doing the sound design, and writing a musical score. Because I write stock cues that I can pull from, like a lot of classic television and radio, but you still always need fresh music. You still need a fresh sonic identity to kind of capture the atmosphere of each story. And that's the kind of stuff that you say, I can't give that away for free, because that takes so much effort and so much energy. And the nice thing, too, about doing a project like this is something like the 2022 annual collection, which is packaging everything released across the year, doing a final proper polishing pass in editing, and saying, hey, you can bring it home on your shelves. Physical media is always the way to go. And the crazy thing, too, is with the amount of stories I've been pumping out, I could feasibly do 3 books at the end of the year. Because there is a serial that's being run on the Substack. Once a month, we do Steeled Spies, which introduces a spy character who I'd been developing since the very outset of pre-production, Roger Steele, in a story that was originally released in the 22 annual collection, but has carried on in a semi-self-contained form across the website. So it's a once-a-month thing, and that's literally when you add in the story released in the 22 collection, bound that all together, that's a novella. That's a 25 to 30,000 word book. All of the Flash stories, it might be a shorter read, but that's still another solid collection of fiction. And so that's been why I really am pushing, even if it comes down to me literally sitting there and making like the pitch reel saying, why 365, why support this, which I definitely will. It's something that I've been meaning to get on for ages now. It's just that everything kind of pulls at you in sequence, and so it's a bit of a program madness. But I want to keep that central core of the series always free all the time, but support it on the back of this kind of almost mountain of original fiction and original music and original media that feels both within, that doesn't feel like I'm outsourcing or it feels like I'm selling out, but it all builds in and it all fleshes out the world as it stands.